All right. Hello, people. Just making sure you can hear me. Everybody can? Yeah, okay. So my name is Riya Singh. I'm the engineering lead for data engine team at Sumo. And that's my colleague Ramin.
Hello.
He's the engineering lead for core platform. So hello, everyone. We are very excited to see all of you here. A quick show of hands. How many of you were here last Illuminate as well? You were? Yeah. Okay, some of them. David was there also. So welcome back, and hope you're enjoying the conference. Today we're talking about APIs. So the three takeaways from my talk. The first one is we want to talk about how we evolve Sumo as a platform. It's not just a service to manage a log, but we want it to be a platform where you can do all sorts of things on top of the log management system. We will talk to you a little bit about what current APIs are available. We have a number of new APIs coming along. Some are in beta, some are in production, some are being developed. And we want to get early feedback on what APIs we are doing. The third thing we want to talk about is how we envision these APIs going forward and what our vision is for the future of Sumo platform. Why API first? I think this is a question which we all know the answer for. As data is growing, imagine we began with small amounts of data, and now you're pushing a lot of data through a Sumo platform. But it's not just the data, it's the content, the amount of users that you have, the amount of content that you're creating, the amount of different configurations that you have, right? Different teams have different configurations and settings. It becomes hard to manage them if you can't automate it. As much as you're doing through the UI, unless you can automate it via APIs, there's always a chance of human errors, and it's not scalable if you have to do it via UI. So we want to make sure that everything that you can do in the UI, whether it's creating your users, deleting users, creating any content, we want it to enable you to do it via API first. And that's our goal going forward. We have seen the slide multiple times through our different presentations. Just a personal story from my point of view. When I joined Sumo, that was about 4 years ago, we were a company about 80 people or maybe 100. And today we are so much more larger than that, 4x improvement in number of people that we have joined, number of services that we have created. And internally, we have felt the need to be automating as much as possible. That helps us scale not just the operations, but also the everything that we do, right? With that in mind, we have sort of rethought how we do our development work in Sumo. Initially, everything that we did was, how do you enable the user to do this via the UI? We have changed our mindset a little bit, mostly based on the feedback from you people, that we are doing everything API first. So whatever features you can do it in the UI, you should be able to do it in the API. And going forward, we'll make sure that we always think API first before building any new features, right? We want Sumo to be a platform where you can automate all your operations, and your customers can take advantage of the platform and build your own applications on top of it. So what are we doing to do that? Firstly, we have standardized on Open API specification, and we use Swagger as our tool, as our code gen tool to create APIs. Swagger has been working very well for us because it standardizes most of our APIs. It's an easy way to write APIs. You write in a YAML file, and it auto-generates clients for you in many different languages, over 40 different languages. So the clients are auto-generated. That's a good advantage. The second advantage that we have is that the documentation as well is auto-generated. As you can see here, it gives you a very nice, clean way of writing your APIs and knowing what the response codes are, what the error codes are. It's all very standardized. So that's one big advantage. And as I said, clients can be auto-generated in over 40 different languages. So whether you're a Python developer or you're writing Java application, you can be automating it via Sumo Logic APIs. So we broadly have two different kinds of APIs. One of them is the configurations, and the other is data. Configuration means things like creating users, deleting users, management of your collectors, sources, management of any creating of field extraction rules, schedule views, logs to metric rules. All of these are configuration APIs. And the second case is data APIs, on how to extract data from the system using APIs. For example, the search API, the dashboard API, Livetail CLIs. So some of these are already available. Do you guys use any of these yet? Livetail CLI, maybe user management tools. Which ones? Livetail CLI, okay. User management. So this is, let's give you a preview of what all is available right now. So today in beta, we have available users and roles. You can create users, all the operations there. You can assign them different roles, update, delete as needed. Secondly, we also have, this has been a big ask from you guys from a long time. And we're finally glad that we're able to deliver this, and we'll go through some demos. It's a content sync API. Content is anything in your library, whether it's a dashboard, a scheduled search, a save search, maybe a metrics object, each of these things, the management of them via the API. And then there are these settings that we talked about before, field extraction rules and things like that, that can be available. So let's go through a nice, interesting demo. And it's interesting because this is how we're using APIs within Sumo to automate some of our workflows. Ravi?
Thank you, Ria.
Thanks.
Okay, so let me make sure this works. Can you guys hear me? Okay, good. So I really am not very comfortable doing a public speech, but I'm excited to be here, and I'll tell you why, because we've been listening to what you want to do with our APIs, and I think our number one in our ideas portal is users and roles, and number three is content. So, that makes me feel happy to stand up here and talk about it. And in order to have a flow going for this demo, I thought instead of telling you what you can do with it, I decided to just tell you what I want to do with the APIs we're building at Sumo, and then maybe you'll find some common ground here. So we get interns every summer, and we do activities with them, but what happens when you get a new intern is that we find a mentor for them, and then the mentor has to remember to go create accounts in Sumo for them. The mentor also has to know what roles to give them, and what are the capabilities of those roles, and sometimes information gets lost. Sometimes they don't do it. The intern shows up, they can't log in because nobody created the account for it. So what I want to do this summer, for the next summer actually, is to use our users and roles API to automatically take what comes from Active Directory and then apply it and create all their accounts for it. What you see here is going to be the only code I'm going to show because nobody wants to sit here and read code. But this is all the code that takes for the client that is generated by Swagger to get all the roles, find the inter role, create that user, and you'll see that that's the result you're going to get. User was created. I want to talk a little bit about the result. We, as part of giving you the ability to do everything you can do from the UI using the APIs, we are making an effort to standardize our objects. Essentially, give you all the data that we can share for you to look at when was this object created, who created it, when was it last modified, who modified it, and essentially everything that you can see in addition to some more information that you can do maybe more auditing or whatever your use case is in this case. So we get our interns, they come in, and then we decide that our interns have been doing really well. They're creating these amazing dashboards, but the intern role does not have the ability to share the dashboards they're creating. And some of the dashboards they're creating is much better than the ones that I've been creating. So I want to give them the ability to share those dashboards. So it's very easy for me to write another script that goes and gives the ability to share dashboards publicly to interns. And that API is now available in beta. You can try it. And we'll talk about feedback on that because it's very important for us to do this right. And we're at the early stage. We want to know how you can solve problems with it, and if there's something that is lacking, you can tell us, and we'll think about it and try to solve the problems with it. So there are other cases that some of our interns come in, they want to do other things that is related to the role that they're having. So if the intern is an HR intern versus an intern is in the security team, they have different needs for their capabilities. So you can use the roles in users API again to give them additional roles by updating the user, depending what department they're working at. So end of the summer is very sad for us. Our interns leave. Essentially, we depend on the mentors to clean up the users and their content. So now we can do that using the APIs. So we are sure all our content is transferred to the correct user, and the user is deleted from the system, so they don't have access back to log in from Sumo Logic from outside. So the users are deleted as soon as the Active Directory user is disabled or deleted. So for the sake of this one to work, I want to talk about a fake business I run every year after Illuminate. I steal the shirts that we have not used. I'll take them to the internet. I'll sell it on my own private website. This is not true. I'm making this up. But just I need this to work this way. So last Christmas, my website went down because Illuminate paraphernalia is really, really popular. I didn't have enough web servers. This year, I'm going to run my schedule searches a lot more often near Christmas. So I will know that my website is in danger because the customers are buying so many of these t-shirts. So I can take my schedule searches, run the script that looks at all the searches in this folder and updates their schedule. They run more frequently. Christmas season over, I run another script, goes and puts them back in their normal schedule. There is an API now available for you. You can try that. Again, I really, really want to know your feedback because, I am imagining this use case for you, but I want to hear what you want to do with them. So some of you do have a MSP kind of a use case where you manage more than one organization. You have several organizations in several deployments across the globe, and you don't want to hand make your dashboards in one and then go to the UI, click on export, make your changes, and then go log into other accounts that you have one by one and upload them. So this ability of syncing your content from taking it from one organization that you've done, use the content sync API, export it, make a little change, and send it to a different organization, and replicate the dashboards, your searches in different organizations. That API is also available now. It's in beta, so bear with us a little bit. I think Christian did a great demo of that. I'm not as brave to do a live demo, but he's standing right there and he's smiling, so it worked. Thank you, Christian. But I'm not as brave, so I'm not going to do a live demo as that for that one. And another API that is ready for you to use is the content permissions. So if you want to limit access or give access to existing content you have, you can use this to move things around, give them different permissions, get your roles using the roles API, change some of the access for some roles, give some more access to some other ones. This pretty much covers what is available from content sharing that you can do in the UI today. I think that 100% of that use case is covered by the beta. Again, I want as many people as we can get to sign up for the beta to give us feedback for this as well. And there's a use case internal that I want Ria to talk about a little bit, what we do with this before I go back to the rest of this.
So I just want to talk about an example of how we use content sync APIs internally within Sumo. So as you know, we have multiple deployments in different AWS regions. There was Dublin, Sydney, different endpoints, right? And we have a group in Sumo called IRC, which is the Incident Response Coordinator, which is the one which is making sure that all our systems are working very well and there are no all the metrics that we are monitoring, right? So we have a number of dashboards and alerts internally that we use to monitor all our systems across different deployments. And sometimes, not sometimes, very often there is a use case where you want to add a new alert to your system, or you want to modify thresholds of something, or all these alerts and dashboards always kind of a flux, right? As you're changing a log line maybe and you want to redo your alerts. So it becomes very hard if we had to write to it once and then import and export into 5 or 6 different deployments. So now we've automated that using the content sync API. You make one of your changes and we're able to propagate these changes very quickly to all our different deployments. And that's how we keep things in sync. It also lets us do version control on them, because now that you have a content which you can put it on your GitHub repo and have version control on that. So that is one way we use content sync internally within Sumo.
Thank you. So I want to talk a little bit about where we're taking this. So part of the standardization I was talking about earlier, to have these standard objects behave similarly and have a uniform shape to them, is because we are thinking of taking this to the direction of allowing you to use something like Terraform to declare the state of your system the way you want it and put it in your repository the way you want it. And then we want to give you a way to say, I want the state of this organization to be this particular state at this point. And we want to be able to just apply that state, and then your org will end up in that state. You can then make changes to your state any way you want, and then apply that, or revert it, go back to a different state. We are thinking of the ways to do this, because I was talking to some of you yesterday. Some people feel really strongly about terraforming. Some people have really strong feelings about CloudFormation. Again, I would love to hear what you feel about those, so it will help us to think about how we are going to design it so you can get the best experience from them. There is this email address. I think these slides will be available to you that you can use to join the beta program, and also you can talk to your account manager, or you can come directly talk to me after this or anytime today, and I can help you join the beta program. And it's very, very valuable to us to hear from you and see what you think about them. And the more you use it, the better for us to basically predict how to do the rest of the things that are going to come in. One thing is, we started with users and roles and the content because they were these ideas on top of the ideas portal. The next few things are going to be around field extraction rules, partitions, schedule views, and essentially we'll let you create and modify your configuration and content, and then until we get to 100% coverage of what is available in the UI for you. And I want to thank you, Ria, for helping me go through this.
Yeah, we keep our presentation short and sweet because we wanted to hear more from you guys on, what APIs do you find useful, or your use cases on needing to automate things. So yeah, we're willing to hear more use cases and questions, if any.
All right, so raise your hand and I'll find you. Start the gentleman.
Questions?
I'm a SRE, and we've been using APIs in another product to kind of do release validation. Mm-hmm. And I can see with Sumo that we'd like to do the same sort of thing, where we have gates in our releases where we want to do like a little check. And I know there is a search API right now, but for me it's a little bit cumbersome to use to come up with the pattern. So I'm hoping that maybe we'll have some improvements around that, and also what's your story around validating releases and things like that?
David, do you want to take this one? Because it's search. Thank you.
Pass the buck. All right, I'm a director of platform, so I guess that's how it goes. I think we're going to have to talk a bit more to understand what you mean by validating, and maybe you can explain what do you mean by that.
What we would see is, we might hit the the API to check what our error levels of maybe certain various areas of our systems before a release, and then we make our release, and we would do the same sort of check afterwards. It would probably be up to us to try to do some comparisons. But I know even Sumo's got the compare ability that it could compare 20 minutes ago or whatever we would set. Are we seeing increased error alerts? Is it something we should take a look at and maybe hold up the release or at least have a chance to take a look?
Okay. Of course, with the search job API and a bunch of the APIs, you'll be able to automate that, right? You could write your own scripts. But something we're working on in the metrics land is the ability eventually to have annotations. So you'll be able to tag events saying, oh, I just did the release. And then, I think then you can kind of start having search that take this annotation into account, right? But that's something we can talk after if you want, or we can find someone. Okay.
I do want to say that we are also going to take the existing available APIs that are not in Swagger and move them over, and then try to unify them and clean them up and make them perform better.
So yeah, that's the point where we can make improvements to the current APIs as well. So we are looking for specific feedback. The other thing that I can think of, it will help is dashboard APIs, because internally when we do our releases, we are looking at dashboards to monitor the number of errors or health checks and things. So dashboard data API would also help with that.
Right. So yeah, one last thing is we are committed to 100% APIs. Right? Like what was said was API first is we are going to port all our existing APIs, including the existing ones, to Swagger. So we'll have give us a bit of time, but when we get there, it'll be 100% all Swagger.
So it's cool you're committing to 100%. The question I had is, currently the user's API doesn't list two-factor, and I can't figure out a way to configure that via the API. I'm assuming it's coming, as we just covered. Can you give me an idea of when?
Have you used the
Yes.
Swagger beta? I would say this year, before the end of the year.
Cool.
David, Mark.
Something we need to make sure we cover two-factor.
Yeah, I would like to speak to you about exactly what is See, this is the type of feedback I'm hoping we get right now, because it's hard for us to know exactly what the details of things when you do run into problems. We try to solve the general problem, and then there are these corner cases.
Other questions?
So this may be a sales question, but you said you're committed to 100% APIs. Will all of the APIs be part of the standard offering?
I'll take the fifth on that.
Can I not take the fifth on that?
Okay, we are developers.
we are with you on that one.
We want 100%. We are working hard on that. But I don't have an official answer. Other questions?
There is.
I had a question about the content sync. Is it all or nothing from one platform to another, or can you specify folders?
Yeah, you can give a folder ID. Say I want whatever is in this folder ID to go to this folder ID.
So if I've got like 30 platforms in each folder with customized content, I can say sync this folder to this other deployment.
Exactly.
You just give it a parent ID in your target and say, this is source ID, take this and put it over.
And the source ID would have that info of what folders you want to transfer?
Essentially, you just give the parent of the folder ID of the parent of the parts you want to move.
Got it.
It could just be not even a folder. You can even move one
You
dashboard.
can make single content as well, like a single
Okay,
dashboard.
so you
or
could
single
deploy
presentation.
customized content from in any way you see fit from one deployment to the other. Cool.
Any hierarchy in the tree.
Of it, plenty of questions.
I haven't had a chance to play with the content sync ID. So I had a question of, I understand that it's folder to folder, which makes perfect sense. Does it do will it delete content that doesn't exist in the target folder? Is that a configurable option? Does it actually sync, or does it just initiate a copy? What exactly happens there?
David, do you?
I'll take that one.
The master designs.
it's a sync. So it will replace what's in the folder in place. So the dashboard will stay. If there is a dashboard that has the same name, it will stay the same dashboard. It will just update the configuration. So if you have any link to that dashboard, they will still work. It will delete objects that are not defined anymore.
So if you have an existing object, if I'm not mistaken, with a different name, it will remain there. It's just that if it has a name collision, it will delete the one that has a name collision with. Is that? Yeah, that is accurate. Okay. So if your target folder has other objects in him that don't have a name collision with what's coming in, they will remain there. Configurability is that's a good thing to add for us. I don't think today you can configure to turn this off and on. No. Okay, so that's thank you.
That as an announcement.
We'll talk after this.
Duke has a question.
Who has a question?
Oh no.
Internal questions.
I'll just follow up on that. Are you guys going to roll out any tool to do to diffing between the older and the new version? Because right now the content is in JSON, and it's I think it's really messed up when you export new version. Like
Yeah, we're cleaning that up. We're making it what is proper for public consumption as opposed to internal consumption.
Any other questions? Yes, I see a hand.
Are you guys working on a Terraform integration? Say we want to manage all of our Sumo Logic alerts as code.
Sorry, can you repeat that question?
Are you guys looking into a Terraform integration?
All right. Yes. We actually have open source a Terraform.
Have you tried that?
We have open source a Terraform client that was contributed by one of the customers. So we took it, we cleaned it. It does not yet integrate with our new APIs, but the intent is to do that.
For the alert APIs as they're coming forward, are you planning to maintain parity between logging and metrics within the Sumo ecosystem and kind of do them all at the same time, or is it more just one side of the product and then metric, like logging first, then metrics, or vice versa?
I can take that. So as we have seen this, right? We call ourselves a unified logs and metrics platform. So definitely we want to unify as much as possible. Just the history is that we start with logs first, so that's what we do more well. But going forward, this API redesign gives us an opportunity to bring everything together. So we definitely don't want to differentiate between different sources. It's all data and alerts, right? The sources are not matters.
All good questions.
All right.
Anything else? No? Well,
Okay.
thank you. Thanks, Ria and Ramin.
Thank you very much. Thank you.